From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning, this is 10 a.m. news on 1680 The Crow. Here's your top stories for today, and I'm Gila Swanova. Our producer Brooke Jensen will give us the rundown of what we are chasing for today.
Good morning, Oogie. So today we have a couple reporters that are out on the field today. We're going to be chasing the updates to the cops in classroom idea, I guess we'll say. So that's going to be going on as well. There's a press conference that one of our reporters, Sonia Kutenbauer, is at. We're going to be also looking at here on campus. There's going to be a get-together where they're going to be discussing international students' mental health and stress. So we're gonna have a reporter that's gonna be down there for today. We have a person going to Port Coquitlam to check out the Trailblazers, which is a new team that got their first win. And for the record that's going to be coming out today, we have a phone-in from a Bulgarian folk dancer who's going to be teaching us all about that art and that skill. And we'll see how that happens. We'll keep you updated. But thank you, Oogie, and we'll go back to the stories for this morning.
Thanks, Brooke. The seating arrangement in BC's Legislative Assembly look at a bit different as politicians head back for the fall season. The Conservative Party of BC now has officially party status and a nearly $4,000 annually budget after former BC United MLA Bruce Benman crossed the floor last month to join John Rustad. The Office of the Clerk has said it appears to be the first time for parties will have officially status, although it's not the only time for parties have been represented. The key focus of this session will be housing. Housing Minister and Government Housing Leader Ravi Kahlon is promising new legislation to address permitting and zoning challenges, strengths enforcement of short-term rentals, and deliver more small-scale multi-unit housing. The BC Supreme Court has rejected a legal challenge filed by local residents against the deal between the City of Vancouver and the Squamish Nation for services related to massive housing development in Kitsilano. The Kits Point Residents Association claimed the city's deal to deliver services such as firefighting and utilities to this development at the south end of the Burrard Bridge was unlawful, adopted, and cloaked in secrecy. It's expected to include 6,000 homes in 11 towers built on land that once housed an ancestral Squamish village before its residents were forced out and their homes were burned as a Canadian Pacific Railway expropriated the lands. Eve Monroe with the Resident Association said they never thought they could stop the development that's already underway, but some residents object to its destiny and worry about the strains on local services. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation latest forecast shows housing stock must climb about 22 million units by 2030 to achieve affordability. Canadian Press Don Kelly has more on this.
The federal agency says that's going to require an estimated total investment of about $1 trillion. CMHC's
Stay
Deputy
tuned for
Chief
more
Economist
on BCIT's
Khaled Abyorworth
1680
says
The
the
Crow.
private sector must be given the proper incentives to invest more in housing in order
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Welcome to For the Record on 1680 The Crow. I'm Zach Clark. My guest today is Karen Crowbach, a seamstress who during COVID turned her eyes to patch jackets. How did you first get into creating patch jackets?
Well, I think for me, it starts with getting into the metal community first. Obviously, the punk scene has their own kind of, battle jacket, kind of an idea, but also the metal scene as well. So I started going to actual metal shows probably back as far as about 2017, though I've always been more into the heavier music and all of that. And I saw so many of the jackets, and I started collecting patches, which originally I had sewn onto my apron at work, working in a warehouse. Then the pandemic hit and everyone was in lockdown and I was living alone and I needed something to do. So I had an old kind of crappy jean jacket that I dyed a darker color, and I started taking all the patches off my apron from work since, it was COVID and I wasn't working there anymore, and started sewing them on. And then once shows came back, a buddy of mine and I started going to shows, and I picked up more patches, and then I realized that it was, such a fun pastime for me that I wanted to keep doing it, but I'd run out of room on my own jacket. So, I was expressing how sad I was about this, and my buddy goes, well, why don't you make me a jacket? So, I was like, absolutely, I will. And now it's just kind of a thing. It's such a good hobby for me now.
Metal is a genre that is often misunderstood. Is there anything you would like people to know about the metal community?
Oh my goodness. I love this question so much. Yes. We're not scary. I've had people see me coming down the street wearing my battle jacket and they cross the street. Like, I'm not gonna bite ya. I think really, it comes down to taste. Everybody has different opinions and music tastes. I think that's why there's so much diversity in the world of music. I personally think that metal is my favorite genre, but I consider myself a very eclectic person musically. So I can understand how, there are some people that are just like, hear it as screaming and yelling and it's just angry. And, I think if I were to, play devil's advocate, even though I'm actually on this side, I suppose, so it's not devil's advocate, but I think I would probably say something to the effect of, it's not angry, it's cathartic. And I think everyone has their own ways of dealing with things. I think everyone has their own, hardships and traumas and good times, bad times, whatever. I think for me, I hear the emotion and the meaning and the words behind all of the screaming and the whatever. Some subgenres of metal are very, very technical, very, very advanced musically, and just hearing the talent and the passion that these artists are able to express is often just so breathtaking. You hear a face-melting guitar solo or like a wicked drum solo or whatever, or there's even a few bands that have just such amazing vocalists. There's a lot of misconceptions about how, these vocalists must ruin their vocal cords. Not if they're doing it properly. And that takes years and years and years of practice and coaching and dedication and passion. And when, you know, I'm listening to metal, it's great, it gets me through the day, but the live scene, and particularly the metal community in Vancouver, it's just incredible. It is so supportive, and I feel like it is inclusive, and I hardly feel safer than when I'm at a metal show, to be quite honest. I mean, sure, there's mosh pits, but there's rules in mosh pits. If someone falls down, there's already 5 people helping them up the second they hit the ground. Like, it's very... I hate to sound cliche, but it sort of sounds like it sort of feels like an extended family in a way. We're part of the metal family, you know? And I think it's just much more welcoming and whatnot than a lot of people think. People think that, you know, metalheads are angry and scary, but honestly, I have seen more metalheads coming to shows in unicorn costumes than I can even count. So, I mean, I think it's one of those things where you don't judge a book by its cover.
And do you see a lot of other people wearing different battle jackets and patch jackets at shows like that?
Oh my gosh, so many. And gosh, I aspire to have a jacket as incredible as some of the ones I've seen in the metal community. Now, I think a lot of these people that I've seen wearing these jackets, they've been working on them for many, many, many years. And some of the craftsmanship is just so awesome. I think this is one of the things I also get out of going back to your previous question about making battle jackets is now when I look at other people's battle jackets, I appreciate what's gone into them. I appreciate, I really like how you put this patch here next to this one, or I like the color thread you used, or, you know, things like that. And it gives me ideas for when I'm making other things, like, that would look really great there. For example, there's wristbands that everyone gets from Armstrong Metal Fest every July. And my friend that I went with and we decided that we're going to start sewing those onto our battle jackets because there was someone we saw at a show once that had a ton of them. And we're like, that's really cool. It's a really cool idea. So just, you know, incorporating all of that in, there's so, I mean, I saw someone with a battle trench coat one time, and I mean, he was an older gentleman, but he obviously had been going to live shows since he was younger than I am now, and he had been working on this forever. And it's really, really great to see that, and then to have my jacket appreciated as well. And you know, if I hear someone compliment my friend's jacket, I take it as a compliment too, because, you know, I did that. I made that. It's his, but I still put a lot of myself into it as well. So yeah, I mean, there's tons. It's not everybody has one, not everybody wants one, not everybody needs one, but they are kind of a staple for sure.
What creatively do you get out of making patch jackets?
That's actually a really good question. You know, I think for me, this piece goes back to my grandmother. She was a seamstress. She made wedding dresses for her profession, and she tried to teach me how to sew several times when I was a child. But, you know, as a child with ADHD, like I just couldn't really sit and pay attention long enough to actually have her teach me anything. So for me, when I'm making these jackets, a lot of it is, you know, just being connected to her. She is still with us, but lives far away now. So it's a way for me to connect with her and make her proud. But it's also for me, I'm very much someone that I need to always be doing something with my hands. You know, if I'm sitting in front of the TV, I'm painting, or I'm drawing, or I'm making battle jackets. So I think a lot of it is, it helps with my mental health. And at the end of the day, I get something that looks really, really rad.
That was Karen Krobach talking about her love for creating patch jackets. I've been Zach Clark, and as always, you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Brooke, can you hear me? Hello?
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the lower mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning, I'm Nicholas Poitras, and this is your 10:30 in the morning news. Canada's Mortgage and Housing Corporation has a new forecast update. New data shows housing stock needs to climb above 22 million units by 2030 to achieve affordability. Canadian Press reporter Don Kelly has more.
The federal agency says that's going to require an estimated total investment of about $1 trillion. CMHC's Deputy Chief Economist Aled Abyorworth says the private sector must be given the proper incentives to invest more in housing in order to address the need for 3.5 million additional units by 2030. He's urging governments to reduce red tape and financial barriers on new construction while maintaining social and environmental objectives. Don Kelly, The Canadian Press.
An official says India has told Canada to remove 41 of its 62 diplomats in the country, ramping up a confrontation over Canadian accusations that India may have been involved in the killing of Sikh separatist leader in suburban Vancouver. The official spoke on condition of anonymity ahead of public reaction from the Canadian government later Tuesday. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said there were credible allegations of Indian involvement in the slaying of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a 45-year-old Sikh leader who was killed by a masked gunman in June. 7 candidates vying to be the next House of Commons Speaker have made their pitch to the MPs. Green Party leader Elizabeth May delivered her speech virtually due to health issues. She says the next speaker must follow the rules.
Everyone who's spoken has said our rules are important, but on a daily basis, we ignore standing orders 16 and 18 that require that we respect one another and that we treat each other with respect.
The result of today's vote is expected later today. Today's election is considered to be rare because of all the House of Commons are mid-sitting. Authorities in Thailand say a shooting at a shopping mall in Bangkok has killed at least 2 people. ABC reporter Tom Rivers has more.
A lot of people just run away. And I thought because of this raining. And then some Thai people told me we should run away. And I asked why. And they said because there's some terrorism.
Donald Trump is in a New York court for the second day of his civil business fraud trial. The suit accuses Trump of lying for years about the value of his assets on statements given to banks. Before heading into the courtroom, Trump blasted the proceedings and the Attorney General.
Her numbers are fraudulent. She's a fraud. Her numbers are fraudulent, and this case should be dismissed.
New York Attorney General Alita James' lawsuit alleges that Trump and his business chronically lied about his wealth on financial statements given to banks, insurers, and others. Trump denies of any wrongdoing. An accountant who prepared Trump's financial statements for years is back on the witness stand. 3 scientists won the Nobel Prize in Physics for their work on how electrons zip around the atom during the tiniest fractions of seconds. The award, announced Tuesday, went to Pierre Agnosty, Ferenc Krauss, and Anne Houlier for their study of the tiny part of an atom that races around the center, and it is fundamental to virtually everything. Electrons move around so fast that they have been out of reach of human efforts to isolate them. But experts say that by looking at the tiniest fraction of a second possible, scientists have now had a blurry glimpse of them, and it opens up a new science. The field could one day lead to a better electronics or disease diagnosis. We will now be sending it over to our producer, Brooke Jensen, to discuss future stories for today.
Good morning, Nick. So we've got a lot going on today. A lot of stories we have that we're chasing. We have a reporter in the field right now at Vancouver City Hall at a press conference who's going to be, or council meeting, sorry, is going to be giving us an update on the police in classrooms discussion. So we're going to hopefully get her in for later.
And that was your news for this half hour. I'm Nicholas Poitras, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
I grew up here. I made friends here. I came here, to work, to learn more about my family's legacy. I learned my language here. This is home. Punjabi market is the oldest, like, little India in North America. In 2008, after the global financial crisis, specifically with the Punjabi market, people were just looking for opportunities. So that's why you saw a lot of the commerce flee from here into Surrey. But in 2017, I lost my dad. And after I lost my dad, I did a lot of soul searching, thinking about him. I was grieving. You know, my dad was sick for a very long time. And I don't know, for some reason I made this connection between watching him deteriorate and watching the market deteriorate. And in my dad's case, I wasn't able to intervene, right? His story was written. He passed away in 2017. But with the market, I had the option to intervene. I think that there wasn't a singular inspiration. I don't think that you could say that. It was just it was a collection of experiences that sort of just led me in that direction. And I think I sort of stumbled into it, to be honest. It was just a collection of individuals who'd been talking, you know, for a few months about what the future of the market was. When I was thinking about, hey, what are we going to do with the Punjabi market? I decided to go on Instagram. I saw this like illustration of the street sign. It had like a pink and orange background, and it was stylized in this like squiggly line. And I thought it was really cool. So what I decided to do, like at midnight, was DM the person and be like, hey, I really like your artwork. That person was Jag Negra.
I joined in 2019. I met Gulzar Nanda, who's our current chair, and he had introduced me to the idea of like helping revitalize and beautify Punjabi market because there hadn't been a lot of investment in the area in so long. So there was a group of volunteers that were coming together to work on this like neighborhood, right? So as soon as he started telling me about it, I got really excited, and right away I was like, yes, I want to be involved. I think when we first started, there was a bit of a challenge because like there have been other community groups who've tried to revitalize the market. Politicians come around every year during election cycles, right, to try to they come for photo ops sometimes, right? There's been lots of empty promises. There's been lots of broken promises. So there was a little bit of hesitation and like disbelief, I guess, in the work we were trying to do. But I think as we're making, I think the physical changes is what helps them see that we are doing something, right? For me, like it kind of pulls at my heartstrings because I remember, like I grew up in Maple Ridge, which is about 45 minutes away from here, and we would come like once a year to do a big shopping day. We'd follow my parents, my aunts, like from shop to shop. We'd come here to Himalaya restaurant for lunch, chole bhature every time. And those memories have like been seared into my mind. And to be able to give back to this neighborhood, that meant so much to me. And now coming here with my two young children who are 2 and 4, and having them know what Punjabi market is and hopefully have them grow with it, I think that's so beautiful.
Well, as I said, there was none of the Indian business. So the people coming from even Prince George, Kamloops, William Lake, when there was a long weekend holidays, they were doing to do the business in the Punjabi market.
Having a store on Main Street, you can brag about it, honestly. And like having, like in 90s when I opened the store, having a store, a big store like this, it was really great to have something on Main Street. And in those days though, no, it was a very, very great thing to have something.
ਤਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਸਾਈਨ ਲੱਗੇ, ਬਾਈਲਿੰਗੁਅਲ ਸਾਈਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੈ। ਬਾਹਰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਦੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਸਾਈਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ।
God, there are lots of memories. I remember the first parade when we saw there more than 100,000 people walking by the street. Wow, it was packed. Like you can't even walk around there. There were so many people. That was such a big community we have here, though. And that was a show of strength as well for the community, I guess. And we were very proud to be, to be part of that event.
We celebrated the 25th of anniversary in 1995. At that time, most of the shops were run by the Indo-Canadian community. I know at that time there are 400 Indo-Canadian community employees were working in the market, and we doing about $70 million business.
For the first 10, 12 years, it was just solid up. And then it got steady for a little while. And then the Surrey came in existence. And then now the more people were going and living in Surrey because that was more affordable though.
I think there's like this misconception that, hey, everybody from Vancouver that's South Asian moved to Surrey or they moved to Burnaby. But the census data doesn't show that. The census data shows that there have never been as many South Asians as there are now in all of the Lower Mainland. And that includes Vancouver.
What we can do to help support those businesses is create what we call placemaking. So making a destination, making a place that people want to go, and centering Punjabi market as a real locus for South Asian culture in the city of Vancouver.
Yeah, we advocate for this neighborhood a lot. We meet regularly with the city of Vancouver. We have brought a lot of public art initiatives here, and we're kind of revitalizing it from an arts and culture-based lens, right? And trying to help these mom and pop shops that have been here, help them grow, help attract new businesses, new young entrepreneurs to come here and invest here. And the last thing we want is for it to get completely gentrified and forgotten and erased, because so much of our history, that's what tends to happen, especially in Vancouver. So we want to hold on to the legacy here.
And then looking at things like that we could immediately improve as a city, things like street furniture, adding electrical sockets to lamp standards so we could do, string up lights and stuff like that. And then there's more ambitious things like a gate that's long been talked about over Main Street to actually kind of really signify things like street beautification and murals and stuff, and we've seen the actualization of the murals. And strategies to bring back some of those businesses. So when we talk about what people make living heritage, it's the shops, it's the people who use those shops, it's the people who hang out and make the community, and it's not just a bunch of old buildings.
How many people have walked these streets and forged connections that are undying? They to this day still endure. I think that's probably the legacy of this place, is that it brought us together from all over the western seaboard of North America.
I guess being able to provide like a home away from home for so many newcomers is really important. Long term, I want this to be like such a lively street, the way it was when I was a kid, right? Like you couldn't find parking when I was a kid and we'd come here. I want that kind of like liveliness here again.
But all I can say that is stay positive and just help us out and show us the way and we will follow you basically. And they are leading us very well.
Well, I think the Gulzar Nanda's organization is doing their best try to keep the market up. I think it would survive.
Yeah, it feels incredible. It's like, as a visual artist, I never thought I would be here. Like I was like making art, right? But to see the impact we're having, like I don't think I notice it or think about it day to day, and I think that'll come maybe in a few years when I look back and see like here's what we accomplished. But I think every year like I can look back at the changes we've made and the initiatives we've brought here, and I feel really proud of it, right? Like it's really cool to be playing a part in Punjabi market's overall story and history, and like in 50 years people will talk about the work we did. I think that's really, really cool.
When South Asians first migrated here, they started off as laborers in factories, farms. What the Punjabi market really showed the Western world was that the South Asian person can be an entrepreneur. Their value isn't just in their hands, And there was still a lot of racism, right? But seeing our community thrive here, people should have paused and been like, wow, these South Asians, people that we might not think as our equals, they're doing really well. And I think that that's really the road through which we get to where we are now. We've left an undeniable mark on Canada, and I feel like it started almost here.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikikane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikikane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
This is 11 o'clock morning news on 1680 The Crow. I'm Mugula Sonova. John Kennedy, the Toronto Blue Jays kick off their American League wildcard playoff series with the Minnesota Twins this afternoon at Target Field in Minneapolis. Canadian Press John Kennedy has more.
Playoff appearance. The Jays hosted Seattle last fall after taking the first wildcard spot, but lost in 2 games to the Mariners. Jays right-hander Kevin Gausman gets the start for Game 1 against the Twins.
It's been a dream of mine since I got to the big leagues to get the ball for a postseason start. Obviously, Game 1 is, the most important one.
The Blue Jays haven't advanced past the wildcard round of the playoffs since 2016. John Kennedy, the Canadian Press.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canada needs diplomats in India to help navigate the extremely challenging tension between the two countries. He isn't commenting further on reports India is demanding that Ottawa prepares 41 of repatriate 41 of 62 Canadian diplomats by early next week. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly echoed Justin Trudeau's comment.
We are in constant cooperation and dialogue with India. We ask them full cooperation on the investigation on Mr. Najjar, and at the same time, we've been in close contact, continuing to engage on the question of our diplomatic freedom.
A raptor rescue operation in the Lower Mainland is busy preparing for the arrival of eagles that stopped to scavenge at the Metro Vancouver landfill. Delta supervisor of the raptor care, Martina Verstick, says it's a great spot for bird watching as hundreds of eagles stop at the dump during their annual migration south. But it's also dangerous for the birds because about 200 are brought into their rescue each year with injuries and conditions ranging from broken wings to infections, lead poisoning, and electrocutions from nearby power lines. Liberal MP Greg Fergus has been elected House of Commons Speaker in a historic mid-session vote. The election was triggered by the resignation of Anthony Rota, who stepped down last week after he honored a man who fought for the Nazis in the Second World War.
It's now my duty to inform the House that the Honourable, il est maintenant de mon devoir d'informer la Chambre qu'un honorable député de Hull-Elmer, Greg Fergus.
Today and now we're talking about the weather. Today is cloudy. Later this afternoon, it's going to be a mix of sun and cloud with a high of 15. This was your 11 o'clock news on 1680 The Crow. I'm Mugiloi Swanova.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Trettenaro.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.